This will be for the con assignment, identifying outliers. So we learned that an outlier is drastically different from the other data points. Okay, their definition, an outlier is a data point that lies outside the overall pattern in a distribution. All right, so there is a formula to determine whether or not a data point is actually an outlier. Okay, so I'll show you this in more detail in a moment, but the formula or the commonly used rule says that a data point is an outlier if it is more than 1.5 times the IQR above the third quartile or below the first quartile. All right, so in other words, the low outliers are below Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR, and the high outliers are above Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. So I'm going to write that out. All right, so these are the two formulas. The high outlier, it's going to be greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR, and the low outlier is going to be less than Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. All right, and just to refresh your memory, IQR, or the interquartile range, that equals Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so when you get that value, you plug it in place of IQR. All right, so you might want to write down these formulas in your notes. All right, here we have a stem and leaf plot, shows the number of items in each of the 12 collections in a museum. All right, 2/6 is 26 items, and they give us the 5-number summary, the min, the max, the median, Q1 and Q3. Okay, according to the rule for outliers, how many low outliers are there in the data set? All right, so we are just looking for the low outliers. All right, we said a minute ago, the low outliers are going to be less than Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. All right. So the low outliers, I'll just abbreviate LO, is going to be less than Q1, which is 6, minus 1.5 times IQR. Okay, we said before that IQR is Q3 minus Q1. All right, so in the parentheses here, we're going to do Q3 minus Q1. That's going to be 13 minus 6. All right, so the low outliers are going to be less than 6 minus 1.5 times 7. Okay, 1.5 times 7 is going to be 10.5. Okay, because 13 minus 6 is 7. 1.5 times 7, it's 10.5. So the low outliers are going to be less than negative 4.5. All right. So I don't think there's going to be any low outliers because we don't have any negatives. It has to be less than negative 4.5. All right. We don't have any negative numbers in the stem and leaf plot. The lowest one is 3. Okay, it says it right on the chart here. The minimum is 3. So there are no low outliers. They'd have to be less than negative 4.5, so the answer is 0. There's no outliers here. All right, the following histogram summarizes the ages of the 25 employees who work for Elon's company. All right, so here's your histogram. And these are the ages of the employees versus the number of employees, all right? And they give us the 5-number summary. According to the rule for outliers, how many high outliers are there in the data set? Okay, so we said if you do Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR, the high outliers are going to be greater than this. All right, I'll just abbreviate HO for high outliers. All right, so let's look at our chart here. For Q3, we have 42, and that's going to be plus 1.5 times IQR. Okay, we said IQR is Q3 minus Q1. All right, so for IQR, we're going to do 42 minus 31. All right, and the high outlier has to be greater than that value. Okay, so we have 42. And 42 minus 31 is 9. Okay, 1.5 times 9 is going to be 13.5. And the high outliers has to be more than that. Okay, 42 plus 13 is 55, and we have 0.5. Okay, so anything greater than 55.5 is going to be a high outlier. Okay, I can see already we have at least one because the maximum is 62. So let's see how many we have greater than 55.5. All right, I'm going to have to erase this here. Greater than 55.5. All right, so that would be in this section here. There's none here. Okay, and then this section here is greater than 60, and that is just 1. Okay, you see that? That's just 1. So this right here would be the only outlier. It's just 1, all right? We're looking for the ones greater than 55.5. So anything from here to the right, basically, all right? So just 1. Okay, so here we have a dot plot, number of songs, and it looks like they're going to give us the 5-number summary for all of these. All right, and they want to know how many high outliers there are. Okay, for the high outliers, we want to do Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. All right, and the high outliers are going to be greater than that. Okay, Q3 is 13. IQR is going to be Q3 minus Q1. That's 13 minus 9. Okay, and we have 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. Okay, 1.5 times 4 is 6. And 13 plus 6 is going to be 19. So the high outliers have to be greater than 19. All right, I can see we have at least one. So let's find greater than 19. All right, from our chart, here's 19. So anything to the right, and we can see there's just 1 point. So that's the outlier. All right, last one. Looks like the same dot plot. They always give the 5-number summary. They want us to find the low outliers. All right, so for the low outliers, it's going to be Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. All right, and the low outliers have to be less than that. All right, let's look at our chart here. All right, for Q1, we have 9. So in place of Q1, I'm going to write 9, and that's minus 1.5. IQR is going to be Q3 minus Q1, so that's 13 minus 9. All right, so this is 9 minus 1.5 times 4, right? 1.5 times 4 is 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. The low outliers have to be less than 3. All right, and we can see the minimum is 4. So I don't even have to look at the dot plot, okay, because we don't have any that are less than 3. Since the minimum is 4, it's just going to be 0. All right, if you want to double check the dot plot, that's fine. But it said right on the chart that the minimum is 4. It said that in the 5-number summary.